Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Dr. Robert Henderson's knees buckled, his clipboard clattered to the floor, a nurse screamed, Maggie Sullivan stood frozen, her scrubs still spotted with her daughter's blood. On the examination table, 17-year-old Emily lay face down. The incision Maggie had made 3 hours ago in their kitchen gaped open, but it wasn't the wound that made the doctor faint, it was what moved inside it. 5 pale, segmented bodies writhed beneath Emily's skin. One larva emerged halfway from the cut, its hooked mouth parts grasping at air before retreating back into the flesh. Emily screamed. Maggie's hands trembled. Despite 30 years as a nurse, she had never seen anything like this. She had never caused anything like this. How did we get here? She whispered. 5 years ago, the Sullivan house was filled with laughter. Maggie would return from her nursing shifts to find her husband, Jack, building bookshelves. Their daughter Emily bursting through the door with straight-A report cards. Summer evenings meant picnics at the lake. Those were the days when Maggie believed happiness was something you could hold on to. Everything changed one October morning when Maggie found Jack's note on the kitchen counter. I'm sorry, I have to go. He was gone. To protect Emily, Maggie told a lie. Baby, she whispered, pulling her daughter close. Daddy had an accident. He's in heaven now. She hid the divorce papers in a box in the basement, beneath old holiday decorations. The years that followed were hard. Maggie's salary stretched thin. The house developed leaks she couldn't afford to fix. But Emily flourished, getting good grades and acceptance letters to universities. 6 months ago, while Maggie was at work, Emily went to the basement looking for storage boxes. She found the scattered papers her mother had hidden for years. She discovered the truth. Her father hadn't died. He had left them. Emily confronted her mother with the divorce papers she found, exposing the lie that her father had died. She discovered he was alive and living a new, happy life with a new family in Texas. Devastated, she lied to her mother about a church mission trip and used her savings to take a bus to Austin. There, she watched her father through a window, seeing him happy with his new wife and children, heartbroken. She spent a few destitute nights sleeping in a park and then an abandoned warehouse. It was in this filthy warehouse that flies laid eggs on her clothes. Unknowingly, she carried the eggs home. A few days after returning to Minnesota, a small, itchy bump appeared on her back. It grew larger and began to throb. Soon, she felt something moving beneath her skin, the fly larvae that had hatched and begun to grow inside her. Maggie helped her daughter, Emily, into the emergency room. The triage nurse took one look at Emily's pale, sweating face and the way she hunched over in pain and immediately called for a gurney. They were rushed into an exam room. A young doctor, Dr. Henderson, began his assessment. He cleaned the wound Maggie had made, his professional demeanor calm until he peered closer at the incision. His expression shifted from focus to confusion, then to sheer horror. He saw the movement Maggie had seen minutes before in their home, the pale, writhing shapes just beneath Emily's skin. His face went white. The clipboard he was holding slipped from his fingers and clattered to the floor. His knees buckled, and he fainted right there in the room. A nurse screamed. The commotion brought other staff running. In the chaos, Maggie could only stand frozen, watching the nightmare unfold, her scrubs still spotted with her daughter's blood. No, I didn't. The words hung in the sterile air of the exam room. Maggie stared at her daughter. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Henderson exchanged a look. I went to Texas, Emily whispered, her voice thick with tears. I went to see my dad. Maggie felt the floor drop out from under her. All the lies she had built their life on collapsed in that single, quiet confession. Dr. Mitchell, her voice gentle but firm, pressed on. Emily, this is very important. Where in Texas? Did you go near any farms, animals? Were you in any old buildings? A warehouse, Emily sobbed. I slept in an old warehouse. It was dark and there were flies. The word flies sent a chill through the room. Dr. Mitchell's professional calm finally broke. She turned to the other doctor, her voice urgent. Robert, call the OR. Tell them we have a confirmed myiasis case, multiple larvae, potential for systemic infection. We need to get her into surgery now. She looked at Maggie, her expression a mixture of pity and grim determination. The larvae have to be surgically removed, all of them, immediately. Maggie could only nod, her hand gripping her daughter's as the medical team sprang into action, the truth finally setting in motion the help they desperately needed. Maggie entered Emily's hospital room. Emily revealed she knew her father was alive in Texas with a new family. A social worker arrived, opening a CPS case due to Maggie's kitchen table surgery. Mother and daughter faced a future of counseling, debt, and state oversight, but for the first time, with no more lies between them. They held hands, broken, but together. Maggie entered Emily's hospital room. Emily was furious, rejecting her mother after learning the truth about her father. A Child Protective Services agent arrived, stating Maggie's actions were grounds for removing Emily. However, due to Dr. Henderson's advocacy, a compromise was offered, parenting classes and counseling, allowing Emily to stay if she wished. Emily agreed to stay. Despite her anger, later, a hospital administrator presented a $43,000 medical bill, requiring a $5,000 down payment. The news devastated them, but then, their small town rallied. Flowers, food, and a fundraising page appeared. Donations poured in from people Maggie had helped during her nursing career, showing a community's support in their darkest time. The community's fundraiser grew, and a reporter wrote a story portraying Maggie as a heroic mother. Donations increased. However, a man in Texas recognized Emily from the article as Jack Sullivan's daughter. He commented online, exposing that Maggie's husband was not dead. The truth went viral. Mrs. Patterson, a key supporter, confronted Maggie. She revealed she had donated $1,000 not just out of kindness, but because Jack had swindled her son out of $15,000 years ago. The lie that had defined Maggie's life had now destroyed the community's trust and the support they desperately needed. Mrs. Patterson, a key donor, revealed she gave money because Jack had ruined her son's life years ago. She felt doubly betrayed and vowed to expose Maggie. The fundraiser collapsed as people demanded refunds. Alone, Maggie finally told Emily the truth. Jack left to escape gambling debts and dangerous people, faking his death to protect them. Emily was devastated, realizing she'd been hurt chasing a man who never wanted to be found. A courier delivered an envelope with $2,000 in cash and a note from Jack that simply read, "I'm sorry." It was a hollow gesture that proved he knew about their crisis but still refused to face them. The community turned against them, the fundraiser was frozen, and the massive hospital bill remained. The story ends with the hospital administrator arriving with the final, insurmountable bill, highlighting the complete financial and emotional ruin they faced. The hospital administrator informed Maggie that Emily was medically cleared for discharge but could not leave until they arranged payment for the $42,800 bill. Medicaid had denied the claim, citing patient negligence due to the home surgery. Maggie could only offer $3,200, which was not enough for the required $5,000 down payment. DRS, Henderson, and Mitchell then entered. They questioned the timeline and concluded that while Maggie's initial decision to operate at home was wrong, her subsequent action, bringing Emily to the hospital immediately after seeing the larvae, had accidentally saved her life by preventing a fatal septic shock. Dr. Henderson, revealing his own past struggles as a single father, expressed understanding and sympathy. He placed an envelope on the table and stated he had advocated to CPS on Maggie's behalf, recommending that Emily should not be removed from her custody. Dr. Henderson left an envelope with $4,000. Calling it back pay for Maggie's past help. He had convinced Child Protective Services to close the case if she completed counseling. Mrs. Patterson returned, apologizing for her anger. She revealed her son had moved on from Jack's betrayal and gave Maggie $4,000, the same amount he had lost, saying she wouldn't let Jack's ghost take her humanity. With the $8,200 total, they could pay the hospital's down payment and Emily would be discharged. Emily asked to keep one of the preserved larvae in a jar as a reminder of what secrets look like when they fester. She made Maggie promise, no more secrets, which Maggie agreed to. The story ends with Maggie watching her daughter sleep, reflecting on how love can go wrong but also on the forgiveness and support that ultimately saved them. 6 months later, Emily is thriving at the University of Minnesota, having won a scholarship with an essay about her experience titled The Truth Under the Skin. Maggie is making monthly payments on the hospital bill and working a stable job at a clinic. Mother and daughter are rebuilding trust through therapy and honest communication. Jack, Emily's father, has begun sending child support and a letter taking responsibility for his actions. Though Emily isn't ready to see him, Mrs. Patterson has reconciled with them, and the remaining fundraiser money was donated to charity. The jar containing the preserved larva remains on Emily's shelf as a permanent reminder of the danger of secrets and the strength found in truth. The family, though scarred, has found a fragile but honest peace. Maggie insisted on donating the remaining fundraiser money to a local medical charity. The weight of the deception had been too heavy. In its place, a new, honest campaign was launched, telling the full, unvarnished story of their struggle. This time, the community responded with even greater compassion, raising over $31,000 to cover the remaining medical bills and secure a stable financial foundation for their fresh start. The healing continued at a community potluck organized by friends. Standing before her neighbors, Maggie publicly confessed her mistakes, the lies, the fear, the desperate act of fraud born from a love that had lost its way. Instead of judgment, she found acceptance, the act of truth-telling, she discovered was a weight lifted not just from her, but from everyone who cared about them. Emily thrived in her new college environment. The physical distance, rather than creating a rift, fostered a new, healthier closeness. One evening, Maggie's phone lit up with a text from her daughter. "Thank you for letting me go, and thank you for fighting for me when I needed you to. I love you." It was a message of love without condition, acknowledging both the holding on and the letting go. Alone in the quiet, empty house, Maggie finally allowed herself to clean out the last vestiges of the past. As she sorted through old boxes, she found a photo of Jack from years ago, his smile genuine, not yet shadowed by failure. The sharp anger she had carried for so long had softened into a sad, quiet understanding. He was not a villain. He was a flawed man who had broken under a weight he couldn't carry. She called Emily that night, and they tentatively agreed that someday soon, they would share stories about the good memories, too. Back at work in the clinic, Maggie found a new sense of purpose. A young mother, face etched with worry, hesitantly asked about the cost of a medication for her child. Maggie recognized the look, the pride warring with panic. Instead of just processing the prescription, Maggie led her to a consultation room, provided samples, and shared resources for financial aid. "The bravest thing a person can do," Maggie told her, her voice gentle but firm with the certainty of experience, "is to ask for help when they need it. There is no shame in it, only strength." The young woman's eyes welled with tears of relief. In that moment, Maggie saw her own reflection from years past, but now, she was on the other side. The story ends not with a dramatic victory, but with this quiet note of hard-won wisdom and redemption. The scars remained, but they no longer defined her. They had become, instead, a map of where she had been and a reminder of the strength she had found to build a life that was, at last, authentically and peacefully her own. Take it from someone who learned that lesson the painful way. That evening, Maggie video called Emily for their nightly check-in. It was part of their agreement, not surveillance, but connection. Emily showed her the dorm, introduced her roommate, talked excitedly about her classes. "I'm taking Intro to Social Work," Emily said. "We're learning about family systems and how trauma gets passed down through generations." "Are you thinking about our family when you study?" "Yeah, but not in a bad way, more like understanding, like seeing the pattern instead of just feeling the pain." "You're wise, Emmy, wiser than I ever was at your age." "I learned from watching you, Mom, both the mistakes and the fixing of them." After the call ended, Maggie sat in the quiet house, no television, no distractions, just the sound of her own breathing and the settling of floorboards. She was 52 years old, single, in debt, working part-time at a clinic. Her daughter was at college. Her ex-husband was in Texas, trying to rebuild a life that would never include her. By any objective measure, her life was small, but it was honest. And somehow that made it feel bigger than it ever had when it was built on lies. Maggie walked to the kitchen and opened the drawer where she kept important papers. Beneath the hospital payment plan and the custody agreement was a card from Emily. She'd given it to Maggie on the day they'd moved her into the dorm. The front had a simple flower. Inside, Emily had written, "Thank you for being human. Thank you for making mistakes. Thank you for showing me that perfect mothers don't exist, but real ones do. I love you, not in spite of your flaws, but including them, because they made you fight for me when it mattered most." Maggie pressed the card to her chest and cried, not sad tears this time, but the kind that came when something that had been broken finally started to heal. Outside, autumn was turning the leaves gold. The same autumn light that had illuminated the hospital room where everything had fallen apart now painted her kitchen in warm amber tones. Time moved forward. Scars faded but didn't disappear. Debts got paid off slowly. Trust got rebuilt one honest conversation at a time. And somewhere in a dorm room in Minneapolis, Emily Sullivan studied her social work textbook and occasionally glanced at the small, sealed jar on her shelf, a silent, stark reminder that the things that nearly destroy us can also show us who we really are and who we want to become. Dear friend, maybe you clicked on this story because of a shocking headline. Maybe you stayed because you needed to know what crawled out of that girl's back. But I hope you're still here because you recognize something familiar in Maggie and Emily's pain. We've all held secrets we thought would protect the people we love. We've all made desperate choices in moments when pride and fear clouded our judgment. We've all carried something under our skin, not a parasite, but guilt, shame, unspoken truths that burrowed deeper the longer we kept them hidden. The Sullivans aren't special. They're just like your family or mine. They're not heroes. They're survivors, and survival doesn't mean being perfect. It means getting up after you fall. It means choosing truth when lies would be easier. It means forgiving others and yourself. So tonight, ask yourself this. What truth have you been protecting someone from? What lie have you been telling yourself? Who do you need to be honest with before it's too late? The truth will set you free, but first, it might break your heart, and that's okay. Hearts that break can heal stronger than before. Sometimes the very thing that almost destroys us becomes what saves us. What's yours? What secret have you been carrying that needs to see the light? Have you ever had to choose between pride and asking for help? Share your story in the comments below. Your truth might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. That's all about our stories. Do you have any thoughts after hearing the story? Please share it in the comments below.